Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the True North podcast. I'm your host, Benedict Rhodes. On Thursday, the Canadian Olympic Committee in Tennis Canada revealed Canada's star-studded roster for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Joining me on today's show to break it all down is Ben Lewis, one of the leading experts on all things Canadian tennis. We chat about the team selection, some of the major Canadian and international stories, and of course, get some Wimbledon chat in as well. Hope you enjoy this great discussion. For the second time here on the True North podcast, I'm joined by a fellow Ben, and this time it's Ben Lewis, co-host of Matchpoint Canada podcast and digital content host at Tennis Canada, among other roles. Ben, thanks for taking time to join the show today.
Yeah, happy to be on. Thanks for having me.
So first things first, the most recent news, I guess, the Olympic team was announced on Thursday. Five athletes are Felix Auger, Aliassime, Bianca Andreescu, Leylah Fernandez, Gabriela Dabrowski, and Milos Raonic. What do you kind of make of this group representing Canada at Paris 2024?
Yeah, I think it's a great mix of obviously some top Canadian players and top athletes and a big opportunity in particular for some of our younger athletes. Bianca Andreescu, for example, just coming back from injury, obviously someone who's a former US Open champion, and we've kind of only seen her sparingly the previous couple of seasons. So to have her back on the court, she's been playing well recently, made a grass court final. Now she gets the chance to represent Canada for the first time at the Olympics. And then, Leylah Fernandez as well, former US Open finalist who's been playing some amazing tennis. She just also made a grass court final as well at the Rothesay International in Eastbourne. She'll be there, so it's a big opportunity for both of them because obviously they're younger on the women's side, and Gabby Dabrowski has that doubles experience and is one of the best doubles players in the world. So great to have those three women there. And then if you look at the men's side, Felix Auger-Aliassime, he got to as high as world number 6 in 2022. So we know what he's obviously capable of. And I feel like he's been back on the up and up this season. He had a good clay court campaign. He's back inside the top 30. And then Milos Raonic, he's been such a fantastic ambassador for tennis in Canada, and of course had that incredible breakthrough, reaching a Wimbledon final 8 years ago in 2016. He's been as high as number 3 in the world. Just an incredible career, and I think we know he's obviously at the tail end of his career. This is clearly going to be his very final chance, an opportunity to represent Canada at the Olympics. He's done so before. But I'm sure he's incredibly grateful to have that opportunity again. So I think it's a nice mix of veterans with Milos there, and then our young kind of superstars like Leylah, Bianca, and a good doubles presence with Gabby. I think it's a great balance.
Yeah, you mentioned Milos. He said himself he didn't think he'd ever have this opportunity again. And did you ever think he'd ever have this opportunity again to play at the Olympics or at a major tournament like this?
Definitely not. If you went back to last year and you asked me, will Milos Raonic play for Team Canada's Olympic team in 2024, I would probably say no chance. There's no way I could have envisioned that. He stepped away from the court for 14 months, such a long period of play without competing at all. Missed the entirety of the 2022 season. He had his comeback in 2023. He finally made that return on the grass courts, kind of the same time last year. And I thought at that time, maybe it's kind of one last hurrah, one last goodbye, get to play Wimbledon for a final chance, get to play in front of the fans in Toronto for a last time, and maybe call it a career. But I've been impressed with him this year. He's still navigating injuries. Those are, I think, a huge story of his career. He's still been battling through some issues, but we've seen this season when he has managed to play a tournament and complete matches in a healthy way, he's still a really dangerous player. And we saw that just the other week when he set an aces record in a best of 3 match, defeating Cam Norrie, hit an incredible 47 aces in a single match. So that's now he's an all-time record holder in tennis. I certainly didn't think he'd get a chance to play the Olympics again. Um, for me, it's really disappointing that he didn't get a wild card to play in the main draw of Wimbledon, but I think this is at least bittersweet that he'll get to represent his country one last time at the Summer Olympics, and we'll see if he can kind of push on for the remainder of the year and just stay healthy and play matches.
And should we be talking about him as someone who can maybe even be Canada's flag bearer for the Olympics? Someone who's been through it all, 12 years between Olympic appearances, and sort of a good story, I guess, coming back to the Olympics 12 years later after London 2012.
I mean, I think it would be really cool. I would be very surprised if he's actually the pick, but I think it would be something really cool to see. As you said, yeah, he played here t 12 years ago at the Olympics, and I remember a very memorable match he had with Joe Wilfried Tsonga at the Olympics as well in 2012, as you referenced. So he's definitely one of those top Canadian athletes. At the same time, I think given that we're going to be sending some prior gold medalists and other athletes that have represented Canada well on the international stage, I expect someone else will get the nod, but I'd be happy to see Milos do it as well.
And this tournament, of course, we played at Roland Garros on the famous clay courts there. How does clay maybe suit this group of athletes? I know a few of them tend to be better at hard court or grass court, but how does clay sort of suit this group of five?
Yeah, look, it's I think a challenging transition for all of the athletes at this stage in the season because basically all of the tennis players they're moving off the grass courts and over to the clay after already doing that original transition from clay to grass. So you're switching back. It's very rare. And this is why I think we had maybe a few of the Americans opt out. Denis Shapovalov, whose knee has not been the best, for example, for the better part of a year and a half. I think that's the reason he's probably not playing and focusing on hardcore, where that's generally where he has the bulk of his success. I think for the women's side in particular, Layla and Bianca, I think they're all court players, all surface players. I think their game works everywhere. Bianca has a lot of variety in her toolbox. She can utilize, you know, all types of shots that work on the clay. She's comfortable sliding. Layla as well. I thought she took a nice step forward on the clay this season. So, and she's a former quarterfinalist at Roland Garros, so she's comfortable on those courts in Paris. I think both of those two will be fine. Gabby as well. I mean, she plays elite doubles just about everywhere. And Felix, I mean, he made a final this year on the clay at a Masters 1000. So he's gotten better and better on the surface. I think he's due for a run on the Roland Garros courts. And Milos, I think it's kind of a swan song thing where he's never really posted great results on clay, but he wants that final opportunity to be representing the Canadian flag.
And how cool is it to have an Olympics take place at a major venue like this? Like, we referenced London 2012 was on Wimbledon, of course, which was pretty
hmm
special. But what things we like to see a second big tournament take place in France this year?
Yeah, I think it makes it extra special, I want to say. And you see even, for example, Rafael Nadal, who's not playing Wimbledon this year, and he knows obviously it's his last chance ever to play the Olympics, his last time. And so he's been prepping on those courts where he's won 14 times at the French Open. So he knows those courts inside and out, and we see him on the practice courts sharing videos on social media getting ready. I think it makes it extra special, as you said. Having it at London in 2012 was particularly cool. Seeing Andy Murray take the courts and the grass courts, Roger Federer there as well. They played a great match. So, yeah, I think it adds a little bit to the allure. There's no ranking points. So, in terms of the connection to the ATP and WTA, that's maybe something I'd like to see change in the future, where can we add ranking points as an incentive to get everyone to play the Olympics in tennis if you qualify. But in terms of adding a little prestige, it's amazing to have it on the courts of Paris at Roland Garros for sure.
And the only you mentioned it off the top there, the only one of these five athletes who hasn't been to the Olympics before is Bianca Andreescu. Of course, plenty of big game experience, but how much will that help her on the Olympic stage, or does the Olympics maybe present its own unique challenges compared to, a typical on the ATP or the WTA tours?
I think she's just embracing it. I mean, we spoke to her on the podcast a couple months ago, and we brought up the idea of the Olympics, and she was so excited by the prospect of getting the opportunity to play, saying if she's chosen, she would love to go. I know she really felt like she missed out from not competing on the Billie Jean King Cup roster last fall when Canada won that historic title, which is international as well. Obviously, that's a bit of a different format where it's just country versus country. You mix in singles and doubles, but it's an international stage, and that's exactly what the Olympics is. So I think she's absolutely embracing it. I think it's going to bring out some of her best tennis, honestly. She's someone who thrives off energy and an exciting environment. Layla does too. So I think it will bode well for both of those two in particular.
And the mixed doubles team hasn't been announced yet. I think we can probably expect if Canada fields a team like Gabrielle Dabrowski will probably be a part of that, given her doubles prowess. Is that fair to say? And do you think it'll be Milos or Felix competing with her if they do end up playing? 'Cause they'll be playing singles and doubles, of course.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, definitely no disrespect to Layla, who's a very good doubles player as well. And Layla will be teamed up in women's doubles with Gabby, so that's going to be a great opportunity. I think for the mixed, I would expect to see Felix and Gabby Dabrowski, especially just for the fact of Milos Raonic and his body and giving him the appropriate workload. I don't think you want to overstrain him with potentially three events because I believe he's also planning to play doubles with Felix. So I think just for the sake of him and his body, and Felix is a strong doubles player. He's had big wins in doubles in the past, for example, at Davis Cup. I think he's won a Masters 1000 in doubles with Hubert Hurkacz a few years ago. So he has the pedigree. He's comfortable in that format that I think he and Gabby would make a really strong partnership if that can happen.
And you mentioned the Billie Jean King Cup. Canada, of course, the reigning holders in that until fairly recently. They were the holders of the Davis Cup as well. Would you say this is the best Canadian tennis has ever been? The best place it's ever been?
I mean, it's hard to argue that, right? I think definitely. And you think the fact that Bianca wasn't even on that roster, as I mentioned, and they still won. And Marina Stakusic, for example, she stepped in and played such a huge role for the Billie Jean King Cup team last fall. And now we see her just qualifying for Wimbledon, the main draw at the age of 19. She's an unbelievable prospect. You look at that Davis Cup roster. Um, to be fair, I think Felix Auger-Aliassime at that point was really at the peak in terms of the level of play and what he was doing on the court in 2022. And we had a healthy Denis Shapovalov, but there's a lot of depth right now in Canadian tennis. I think from fans of Canadian tennis, we always want more. And when the bar is set pretty high in terms of, seeing Bianca win the US Open, seeing Layla reach the US Open final, seeing guys like Dennis and Felix make runs to the semifinals of slams, we have that expectation of seeing it constantly. And tennis is such a grind. It's such a difficult sport. There's so many fantastic athletes competing and pushing for that same goal. And the top, especially on the men's side, is so strong with guys like Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, who's still, kind of close to the peak of his powers, that it is really difficult to break through. So I would say this is the best Canadian tennis has ever been, while also preaching patience when we do have those little dips and struggles. And right now, if I look back at the past few weeks in terms of the grass, I think it's been awesome because Leila Fernandez made a final, as I mentioned, in Eastbourne, and Bianca Andreescu made her first final in 2 years at the Libema Open in the Netherlands. So these are all really positive trends.
And you fired off a few of the names there. One last question on the Olympics, I guess, is who are the sort of the major players that non-Canadians that you want to see they step up in this tournament and who potentially have a chance at going to the medal rounds of this competition?
I mean, if we talk about the women's side, if we start there, I mean, I think Iga Swiatek is going to be really hungry for a gold medal, and for me, she'll be the favorite. You talk about the surface where it's being played, Roland Garros. She's won the French Open 4 times, so she's, the most comfortable without a doubt on that surface. She's the best player in the world, world number one for a reason. She is going to be so hungry and so eager to capture a gold medal for her country of Poland. I think she's going to be really dangerous. Arena Sabalenka won't be there, so that adds another sort of dynamic to the women's side of you take out the world number two, and then who are you looking at to make a big push? And I would say if we have Elena Rybakina healthy representing Kazakhstan, that's a big opportunity. And then Coco Gauff, I mean, she hasn't been able to figure out Iga Swiatek, particularly on clay, has never taken a set off of her. but otherwise has been really, really strong on the surface. Otherwise, I mean, she's made the French Open final before. She was in the semis this year. She's a complete player, and I think she'll be keen to have a deep run as well. If I'm looking over to the men's side, I'm really looking at the top three of Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Novak Djokovic. And this is Djokovic's last stand, and really the one thing missing from his resume. Otherwise, basically flawless resume because he's won every Masters 1000. He's won, of course, we know he's won every Grand Slam, and not only that, has the all-time Grand Slam record with 24. He's won the ATP Finals a record number of times. He's done it all except win a gold medal at the Olympics. And he really wanted that 4 years ago. Didn't happen for him. This is the last chance. So he's going to be incredibly hungry. He has to be fit and healthy. That's the challenge for him right now. And then apart from obviously Alcaraz and Sinner are going to get more opportunities if it doesn't work out this year. You know, they're going to be back in 4 years and probably they're going to be back in 8 years. Another final opportunity for Rafa. Can he medal here? Gold is probably a lot to ask for, but I would never count him out. And I'm fascinated to see his doubles partnership with Carlos Alcaraz. I think that's probably the coolest doubles team that we're going to see at the Summer Olympics in tennis. So that'll be great.
And just want Djokovic quickly. This guy's been sort of a freak of nature for such a long time now. How impressive is that he's still going and still, like you said, top three in the world after all these years?
Yeah, 37 years old, and last season had one of the best seasons of his career. I mean, four majors, he won three of them, and he was in the finals of the other one and nearly won Wimbledon last year. He was right there and won the ATP finals again at the tail end of the season. An absolute mental and physical giant in all aspects. He has virtually no weakness on the court, and so now it's just can he maintain his health and fitness? Because even at Roland Garros this year, we saw his mental fortitude in a couple of matches coming back from 2 sets to 1 down against Lorenzo Musetti. He did it in the fourth round against a good player, Francisco Cerundolo, but he had this knee issue and he had to back out. So he didn't have that opportunity to defend and see if he could defend his title. Now comes the question of, yeah, just can he keep his body in shape to continue to push and contend for these tournaments? Because I think he's, especially in the best of five format, you're seeing him lose a little more often in best 2 out of 3. But that best of 3 of 5 format where he knows how to manage his body, manage his mind, find solutions, he is, I think, still the toughest out in tennis on the men's side.
And Wimbledon, of course, starting I believe on Monday. The first round gets underway. Qualifiers are underway right now.
Yeah.
How excited are you for that to start? And who are you keeping an eye on, I guess, in England this week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's the most prestigious tournament we have in the world, which is fantastic. So I promise you I'll be watching every single day, following every match that I can. In terms of the men's side, I'm really interested in seeing is Carlos Alcaraz able to back up what he did last year? And last year was that incredible breakthrough. This is the surface where I think it's the hardest transition of the season at any point because the grass court campaign is the shortest of all the seasons. Hard court, you start down under in the summer in Australia. You're used to that surface. Okay, you adapt to the heat and you dive into it and you play the Australian Open. Then you get Indian Wells and Miami, you're acclimated, and you shift over to a clay court season, which is a long clay court season, spans over a couple of months before the French Open. So players have time to build their form and adapt to the surface. And then you shift from there, a very slow surface, forgiving surface, which is long, grueling rallies, which test your conditioning, to a quick, fast bouncing, speedy surface, which really challenges your side to side lateral movement, challenges your rhythm and timing, challenges your ball striking a lot. And it's shorter rallies. You have to be able to serve well. You have to be really dialed in under pressure at all times. If you fall down a break, unlike clay, where you might be down 5-2 in a set, you have time to come back. You don't really see that in the grass. So the margins are very small. You have to be really, really sharp and on point. So I'm just interested to see who's going to adapt the best. Jannik Sinner, I've been incredibly impressed by. He won his first grass court title already this year in Halle. He's my pick to win it. I'll say that right now. I've just been so impressed, obviously, by the season to date. For me, he's been the best player in the world, even if Carlos Alcaraz won the French Open. Jannik Sinner, I think his collective season, the four titles, the best win-loss record of any player, um, for 2024. He is, I think, the guy who can definitely have a big breakthrough here and win his first Wimbledon title. And then Novak Djokovic, who's won it 7 times. I mean, all eyes are going to be on him and can he stay healthy? And then the women's side for me is very wide open because as we know, Iga Swiatek, I think her one weakness surface wise is grass. She hasn't really fully put it together at the All England Club in the past. Her best result has been quarterfinals. So can she figure it out after winning Roland Garros for a fourth time? Ons Jabeur has been so close back-to-back years. She's a two-time finalist. Then you have, I think, question marks around both Arina Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina and their health and their fitness, because both of them, they both bowed out of tournaments on the grass court campaign, one with illness. Arena had a brief shoulder injury. So there are a lot of questions there. I think Coco Gauff is very dangerous on the surface as well. And then I wouldn't be surprised if someone kind of more experienced, like Karolina Pliskova, someone who has played a number of years on the surface and done well, could they make a deep run? So I think the women's side is very fascinating because I really am not sure who who to project or who to predict could have a big time run at Wimbledon.
And one of the Canadian stories you mentioned, Marina Stakusic, is has been one of the breakout stars of Canadian tennis over the past year. Of course, first to the Billie Jean
Mhm.
King Cup, and now going to make her major debut. How exciting is this young player, and what are sort of the reasonable expectations of her in both this tournament and also maybe the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, my expectations for Marina are quite high. Maybe not in terms of making a run at Wimbledon right away, because this is her first ever Grand Slam main draw, but quite high just into the future. I think this is a player who uh, I believe can get inside the top 100 this season. I think she's about 160 right now, and you look at the date right now, and we're late June leading into July. So she has, almost half a season to pick up points. She has basically nothing to defend in terms of WTA points. So there's no reason with her quality of play and what she can do on the court that she can get inside the top 100. Terrific ball striker. She hits so clean from the back of the court, forehand and backhand wing. Her serve has improved and now it's about improving her movement and physicality. And I think it's gotten better and better. And the way she played through qualifying in Wimbledon, she had two dominant wins, then one three-set win, I think, in her second match. Kind of grinded that out. That showed some mental toughness, which was great to see. She has a tough match against a seeded player in the first round of Wimbledon. I'm not sure if she's going to be able to escape that. It's definitely possible. She has the quality from the back of the court to do it. I think her game suits fast surfaces as well. I'll temper my expectations for her specifically at Wimbledon, say just overall, projecting her career. My expectations are really high. And as I said, I think top 100 is doable this year. And this is someone I believe in the future could be a top 20 player.
Yeah, currently she's 164th in the world, which is her career high as of June
There you go.
24th.
Wow.
Um, Also, Leila Fernandez, of course, played in the final this morning, lost unfortunately, but has been in
Yeah,
good form recently. What did you make of her in this tournament, and do you think she can go on a bit of a run here at Wimbledon as well?
I definitely think she's capable of a run, without a doubt. And she's really adapted to the grass. The best so far in her career. She didn't have as many reps on this surface as obviously the hard or the clay. I think after 2022 when she made the quarterfinals of the French Open, she injured her foot, so she missed the entire grass court season then. And then if we look back to last year, she was just a bit out of form and not playing her best at the time the grass rolled around, so didn't really do much in 2023. But a great grass court lead up for her, quarterfinals in Birmingham, and then the final, as you mentioned, in Eastbourne with a couple of great wins. I mean, she had a good three-set win over Krejcikova, who's an incredibly experienced player, someone who's won the French Open in the past, and another terrific win against American Madison Keys, who hits so hard from the back of the court. And Layla's timing, I thought, was just impeccable. She hugs the baseline, she takes away time and space from her opponents, and she can redirect and counterpunch so well. and she can mix in this world-class drop shot that, especially if you're using it well on the grass, a surface where it's hard to be able to run full speed and get on the stop and shift and change directions. If she can use that, she's going to be really, really effective. So I think Layla, absolutely, she's seeded here. I wouldn't be shocked if she made the second week of Wimbledon.
And before I let you go, let's finish off with a bit of fun with a little rapid fire round. Five
Sure.
questions, five answers, whatever comes to mind first. Just shoot. First of all, who's your favorite player ever?
Rafael Nadal.
What is the best match you've ever watched in person?
Wow. Best match I've ever watched in person. Uh, I'll go Nadal versus Wawrinka in Toronto. I think maybe 2018 or 19. Just seeing two terrific Grand Slam champions battle it out. I'll go with Nadal Wawrinka.
Who will be the next Canadian to win a major title?
Wow. Mm, Felix Auger-Aliassime.
What's your favorite Olympic sport that isn't tennis?
100-meter dash.
Last one, what's your favorite Olympic memory?
Favorite Olympic memory. I think Donovan Bailey. Donovan Bailey when he set the record and won the gold medal for Canada. I mean, I was, I guess, 8 or 9 years old at the time at the time that happened, but I remember watching and I remember with my family we gathered around and watched. So that's something that's probably, I mean, I think for a lot of Canadians, one of the most special moments for those who were around and alive to see it. That was definitely an historic Canadian Olympic moment.
And finally, where can people follow you and the great work that you do?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Ben Lewis. It's LEWIS which are all in capital letters. Find me on Twitter, on Instagram as the same name, and yeah, like we're producing podcasts every week. We have a recent episode. Actually, Leila Annie Fernandez is our guest for this week. We spoke to her while she was in Birmingham, talked about the grass court season, adapting to the surface, talked about her relationship with her sister, the opportunity to play the Olympics, and we also had some fun rapid fire questions with her too. So if you get a chance, check it out. That's that content's also if you Google Matchpoint Canada, you'll find our podcast, subscribe, and they're all up on YouTube as well under Tennis Canada's channel. So check it out.
Ben, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
Thanks again to Ben Lewis for joining the show, and thank you for listening. Make sure you give him and Tennis Canada a follow on all the places he mentioned. If you want to be the first person to listen to future episodes of the True North podcast and read all of my written content as well, subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts and at truenorthsports.substack.com. You've got a ton of coverage of all things Canadian sports in the lead up to the Olympics and Paralympics this summer. You can also follow us on Twitter at TrueNorth_sport and on Instagram and TikTok at TrueNorthSport. I've been your host, Benedict Rhodes, and thank you so much for listening.